Uganda, that's when he abolished the monarchies in Uganda. The key reason as to why monarchies were banned in Uganda by Milton Obote, one, they considered the Kabaka crisis. The Kabaka crisis that created wrangles. The Kabaka crisis, if I talk about the Kabaka crisis, those people study history very well. Where the Kabaka wanted to take over the powers of the president. So it was because of that. So the president saw that for sure this is undermining someone. Okay, by then he was still the prime minister. So he decided to, when he became the president, he decided to abolish the kingdoms in Uganda. So by the time they had abolished the kingdoms in Uganda, the ruling king of the Ankole was known Ntale the Fifth. So, I mean the ruling king by then was called Ntale the Sixth, aka was also known as John Bariti. So, by now, the current and the known Omugabe of Ankole by now is called Charles Revishenje, that started ruling in 2012 up to present. But we are having the Ankole kingdom in words and belief and history, but it is not seen physically. So, a lot of people turned up to come and complain this. This is evidenced under, during that time they had an organization which was called Ankole Culture Trust. Or Nkole Culture Trust, that was NCT. It was spearheaded purposely to spearhead the campaign for restoration of kingship, or the restoration of the Ankole kingdom. So a group of prominent people in Ankole formed that organization. The reason was to promote the campaign of restoring back the kingship of Ankole. So this included religious leaders like bishops. One of them was called Yoramo, Sheikh Muniru, among others. So they started that campaign around February 27, 1993. They wanted to get back their monarchy. When these people selected a delegate to meet the president of Uganda, the current one, Yoweri Museveni, they went to meet that man. They talked to him on issues of restoring their kingdom. But his answer was, go and sort yourselves. After sorting yourselves, you come back to my office. But according to the understanding of people who attended the meeting, their interpretation was, the president is now not ready to give us back our kingship. So as us, the affirmers, we stand and outline the key values as to why the Ankole kingdom would be restored. One, according to chapter 4, article 37 of the Constitution of Uganda states that every Ugandan has a right to culture. So if you remove the Ankole kingdom, if you refuse to restore the Ankole kingdom, then I think you are joking with the culture. You are now already interrupting the Constitution of Uganda. So we need the restoration of the Ankole kingdom so that we can restore culture. Assume, our dear judges, you are Mnyankole. For me, I'm Mkonjo. I have my rules there. Charles Mumbere was released officially. For you, you are Mnyankole. When we are in stories of kingship, which word are you going to tell us? And the moment you start speaking, my question will be, do you have a king? So makes you not feel in society just because you have nowhere you are falling. You have no culture. So if you have no culture, that means all the cultural values of that certain tribe will be demolished just because the one who is supposed to put them into consideration is not there. Two, equality among monarchies. Why is it that the Uganda was restored, the Toro was restored, the Bunyoro was restored, the Busoga was restored, to mention but a few? Why not Ankole? Granted.
Talk about demolition of culture. What demolishes the culture? The king or the people?
Very well, very well. I also raise a question. If you are at school, you study, not so. If the teacher tells you to go to class and you refuse, and the teacher doesn't act, anyway, what is the catalyst that makes a student to go to class? Most especially those who are like me that like dodging classes. What is the catalyst of making those students to go to class? Reaction of the teacher. Not so. The teachers act as catalysts. So if the uncle don't have their catalyst, the king, then there is no one backing up their culture. Have I answered you? There is no one who can encourage those people to manage the culture, because the king is not there. People who are there, they don't have authority. They don't have even government permission to carry out that particular what? Activity. So there is lack of equality among monarchies. The Waganda will brag, the Basoga will brag, the Wagishu, the Batora, and the Banyoro will brag because they have a king. For you, the Ankole, you will stay in a state of quagmire, a state of mourning. When people are telling about stories of kingship, you are nowhere to be seen. As I conclude, we need the restoration of the Ankole kingdom if we need to have the culture of Uganda back. But if you feel that, if you suit yourself into the Ankole, and you feel that if I don't have a king, it is okay. Our dear judges, how do you feel when you lose a father in a family? You don't have a father, and your friend has a father. When you go to school, your friend will be visited by the father. Also, he will be given pocket money and etc. And for you, you are not given neither money. How would you feel? The feeling you have in your heart when your parent is not there, that is the feeling that the Banyankole have when they don't have their king. I rest my case.
Okay, we shall start timing as soon as you start speaking.
I start in 3, 2, and 1. Angel Vega in conjunction with Sasira Catherine, second negator, and Simaja 1 third negator. And we are the team opposition in today's resolution. Resolve. This House would restore the Ankole Kingdom panel. Team government came up here and told us that actually what they need and actually what they support is restoring the Ankole Kingdom. Fine, we agree that they want to restore Ankole Kingdom, but actually they didn't even lay for us an action plan as how they are going to actually achieve this. Fine, you tell us they're going to restore Ankole Kingdom, which is okay, but actually you didn't give us the strategies. What are you going to take? And after restoring this Ankole Kingdom, what is the benefit of this? So, I'll first rebut all what they say, the first speaker from team government. Well, they came and told us that actually the Ankole Kingdom was, was abolished during the chaos that took place in the 1967, which is okay because he elaborated that actually this was due to the Kawaka crisis. But when we look at actually what used to exist, when we trace back the history of Ankole Kingdom, we see that actually way back even before this kingdom was already abolished, we saw that actually this kingdom was not at a stable fact. What do we mean by this? We see that actually there way around was already between the people of Ankole. What do we mean by this? We know that actually Ankole, the biggest population between Banyankole, this is between the Bairu and the Bahima, those are the two teams. So we see that actually even before this kingdom was abolished, before him talking about the Kawaka crisis being the major chaos and cause of this, we see that actually there way around was between the Bahima and the Bairu. Why is this so? If we trace back the history of Ankole Kingdom, though he gave us little bit of it, but he didn't actually elaborate what took place. So if we are to trace the history of Banyankole, these are the people actually, the reigning part or the reigning clan now in the Ankole Kingdom, this is the group of Bahima. And if we are to trace the history actually, we see that these Bahima, these were the natives or the so-called Kujites. This also came from Egypt. And we see that actually from some time back, these people, we had Hebrews in Egypt and also Cushites, of which it was a mentality to the Cushites that actually Hebrews are their slaves. This is way back from Egypt. And then we see that the Hebrews are the present-day Bailu and the Bahima or the Cushites are the present-day Bahima. So Fine talks about the Kabaka crisis and actually says that that was the major reason as to why all these kingdoms were abolished. Fine, we accept that. But actually you don't clearly elaborate why was Ankole Kingdom abolished. Fine, you tell us that we wanted to be restored and give us some few reasons. But then before I also come to the reason as to why we clearly stated we wouldn't restore Ankole Kingdom, he also talked about the NCT and actually told us that actually its major role was to spearhead the restoration of Ankole Kingdom. But before we look at that restoration of Ankole Kingdom, I would like us to look at it as what are the hindrances that are delaying the restoration of Ankole Kingdom, of which team government did not talk about that. So actually he came and told us that these people met up the president, but he left out that when these people met out the president, what was the president's response? The president told these people, if he is to restore Ankole Kingdom, actually let me give you the real fact of what took place, because we have evidence. The president instructed the team from Nkole culture, if he is to restore Ankole Kingdom, this is what they need to do. They only need to carry out a cultural role. The president did not reject restoring Ankole Kingdom, but he instructed that if he is to restore Ankole Kingdom, they only need to do a cultural role, of which the NCT, what they wanted to do is actually, them being monarchists and also having a group of culturists, what they wanted to do is actually, their target, they wanted, after restoration of Ankole Kingdom, they wanted to target the youth and actually spread all the gospel between the kingship, of which the president was not interested in, because if it comes to kingship, then that means they are going to bring this superiority of Bahima over Bayu, and then they would want to take, actually even conquer our country, Uganda, of which our president did not actually accept and did not agree. And that's why he said, if he is to restore Ankole Kingdom, they only need to carry out a cultural role, of which these people failed to internalize and actually instead took it and framed it to be that the president was not interested in restoring Ankole Kingdom. So they also came here and talked about they really need to restore Ankole Kingdom because they want to restore their culture. But looking at the present situation, we are seeing that actually the Nkole culture is already existing. Because we already have Banyankole, and even if they are to carry their culture ceremonies, they are already taking place. Much as they don't have a king, but their culture is already existing. So that point of restoring culture does not qualify, because we see that actually the Nkole culture is already existing and it is being promoted, much as the king is not there. So they also came here and told us that actually they need equality among monarchies. And we see that at a point in time when Ankole Kingdom was still existing, they were given this chance to actually use their potentials in Ankole Kingdom to carry out what they need to do all as a kingdom. But instead of utilizing this in a positive way, what they did was actually mistreated and also undervaluing the parliament and also the government of Uganda. We say that for them what they wanted actually is reigning over the whole country, Uganda. So actually before I lay out our ground, we as team negators stand on a confirmed side that actually we would not restore the Ankole Kingdom. If you internalize today's resolution, this is a policy motion that calls up for an action. So we as team opposition, our parameter being the Minister of Information, Mobilization and Kingdom spokesperson, and our house being Ankole and our boundary being Uganda, we would not restore Ankole Kingdom. Why are we saying so? Looking at already the current status, we already have shown you that much as they are talking about culture, but this culture is already existing. They are talking about the equality between monarchies, but you see, when they were given a chance to carry out this and also practice the monarchism, they misused it instead. So we as team negators or team opposition actually say that we needed to restore Ankole Kingdom. 1, it will spearhead the long-standing wrangles between Bahima and Bayu. And then 2, this is going to be a wastage of resources. And then point 3, there is weakness in their kingship. So I would like to elaborate more when I talk about the restoration of Ankole Kingdom, leading to actually being the spearhead of the wrangles between Bahima and Bayu. We have already elaborated to you that if we trace way back history, the Bayu are Hebrews from Egypt, and the Bahima are also Cushites from Egypt. And it is a long mentality in the Bahima that the Vairu are supposed to be their slaves. So, Pana, we are looking at a point in time if at all we are to restore Ankole Kingdom. This is what I remember. The reigning clan now in Ankole Kingdom is the Bahima. So their mentality that actually Vairu need to be their slaves is going actually, their superiority over Vairu is going to increase. And we are saying that at a point in time when this kingdom was still existing, what they wanted is actually to reign our country. So we are saying that if they are given a chance actually to their kingdom to be restored, what they are going to do, instead of promoting their cultural, what they need to do, just like the president advised them, for them their major aim, just like they already elaborated to us, that they want to target the youth and actually spread the gospel between their kingship. So instead of taking up the cultural, what they need to do is reign our country, of which we can't agree to that, because we can't let Ankole over Nyankore rulers. Much as our president, the current president, His Excellency, the president of Uganda, Kaguta Museveni, is a Munyankole, but that one, at least he has equality, not compared to these people. Because when we look at even the major reason as to why he himself isn't restoring Ankole Kingdom, much as he isn't much as he isn't actually giving chance to these people. We already said that he is a Munyankole, and you want to tell me that him being a Munyankole wouldn't wish also his people to succeed? Definitely not. He also wants them to succeed, but given the fact that he knows the real character of his people, that's why he's not restoring the Ankole Kingdom. So, Pan, I hope you take note. Actually, also team government, you also realize that. I rest my case.
Start my speech in 3, 2, 1.
I request for some few minutes. Then we will start the speech. Okay? Let us proceed. We don't want to have confusion at the end. That is why we are stopping you shortly. Please proceed.
I start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. The panel of judges, the two antagonistic bodies, and the audience. The resolution of today's debate states that this House would restore the Ankole Kingdom.
My first affirmative has broken it down the way I expected it. So there will be no need for me to highlight more about it. I will directly go to the rebuttal. I want to rebut my opposer's view. One of them, which was, she was like, the Ankole kingdom would result into a chaos in the country, whereby she gave us an example, the Bairu and the Bahima, believing that these people wanted to take over the government. But again, I would like to ask her, in the 1944, when Kasionga II was stepping into power, wasn't there the president of the country? After that, she also asked that the first affirmative did not explain why the Angole kingdom was abolished. But let me highlight to you about a few reasons why the Angole kingdom was abolished. One, President Obote Milton had greed for power, and that convinced him to suspend all the monarchies such that he can remain with that prestige. Two, it was sovereignty. The same explanation like I have given. Another one, Mr. Milton Obote was in need to appear important than the other, and that is why Idi Amin Dada, when he was still acting as the chief commander of his forces, was suspended. So, all in all, Milton Obote, in his constitutional review of the 1967, he was aiming at having power to his side, which we call self-centered. Then, back to my views, or to our case. I will start from the 1944. It was 8th September 1967 that Kasionga left power. 1967, on that real day, the monarchy was abolished. And then they had a king who was called Ntale the 6th, John Baliche by the name. And this was a titular king. When I talk about the titular king, I mean that king who is not having powers, but just has the status and just a title. He is not having powers. So he was a titular king. Then he was replaced by Charles Rebuttal of 2011 to the present Uganda now. But he's also a titular king. Then, going back to my views, the original views, we believe that if the Angole kingdom is restored, there would be a reduction in intermarriages. Ladies and gentlemen, intermarriages are associated with a lot of challenges. One, it is said that Uganda is a heterogeneous nation, of which we agree. But when these people here have intermarriages, now remember the cultural beliefs here are being undermined, and which was not accepted. So that is actually, I can say, we are against the culture. In this real point, I bring the issue of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially the SDG 16, which talks about peace, justice, strong institutions, and we all know that a kingdom is one of the cultural institutions. According to this goal, it should be promoted there should be peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development. Before going further, when you go back to the history, the royal triumph, for those who are offering history, the royal triumph, when this Obote suspended the Kabaka fled to exile in 1966. That's why they're saying the Kabaka crisis. So Obote actually declared himself as the president, and that's when Uganda became a republic. So at this real moment, Dr. Milton Obote, the same person, also had suspended the Kabaka of Uganda. Now the Baganda were upset. So when Museveni was coming in, he convinced the Baganda, now this man has suspended your king, so I'm going to restore the kingdom. And the Baganda were like, oh, now we have got now the second Jesus on earth. So they all followed him. He manipulated them, I could say. He manipulated them. When they all followed him, he disappointed them. So I would say the reason why he's not restoring the Angola kingdom, he is still in favor of the Baganda, and which is promoting inequality.
When was the kingdoms in Uganda restored?
Restored. They were abolished in 1967. Others were restored in the 1995 constitution. You know, in Uganda we have a lot of constitutional reviews. So it was now restored in the 1995 constitution, which was changed by the president of Uganda, the current president Museveni. So Angola kingdom was not restored. I hope yes. Then, if the Angola kingdom is restored, we also believe that there will be strength in cultural beliefs and morals. Ladies and gentlemen, like he has said, whoever has a father in the family, the father always said that my children, or my son, my daughter, go at school, revise the books. My children, my son, or my daughter, when the people come, you should handle them in such a way. You should have hospitality for others, or for those people who always come to you. But now, if the king is there, he will also emphasize such morals in the Banyakor, hence promoting their culture. Part of judges, I beg to rest my case.
I start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Before you is Sasa Catherine Gift on the negative side, and here I come to rebut whatever has been said by the affirmative side. This house would restore the Ankole kingdom, and here we come to say that really, no, this house would not restore the Ankole kingdom. The second affirmer came here and told us that Dr. Apollo Milton Obote abolished the kingdoms due to the greed of power. And yes, we understand, Apollo Milton Obote had greed for power. But then, we also posed a question to the second affirmer and asked him, in which year were the kingdoms restored in Uganda, of which he said it was 1995. Here I come to educate you that it wasn't 1995, but instead 1993. Then in 1993, the kingdoms were restored in Uganda. all the kingdoms were restored in Uganda. And I pose a question, why wasn't it to the Ankole kingdom? Here is the main clash, that the Ankole kingdom was not restored simply because they were disunited. Here I come to talk about the Bahima and the Bairu. The Bahima were the Hebrew, the Bahima were the Cushites, and the Bairu were the Hebrews, of which the Bahima tend to be superior compared to the Bairu. And this all has been brought about, and this also has brought about the disunity, also bringing to the lack of the restoration of the Ankole kingdom. Then I'll also talk about the reduction in the intermarriages, which the second farmer came here and told us that there is a reduction in intermarriages. And then also pose a question to that. Can't you simply ask yourself why there is reduction in the intermarriages of the Ankole kingdom? This is because they lack unity. They lack unity, and this is why the intermarriages still won't proceed. I'll come here and lay you straight to our points where there is wastage of resources. When the Ankole kingdom is restored, of course there will have to be the reconstruction of the palace. And here we come to see that to reconstruct this palace, not granted, to reconstruct this palace, there will be investing of some funds. And when this money is invested, of course, we see that this money would have been used at least for other productive things, and of which the restoration will be of no use simply because even the people of the Ankole kingdom are not united. And then why should we invest in something that is not even helpful? Granted.
I would like to educate you, young girl, on that issue of wasting money in renovating. Actually, it is renovating the palace. Take this note today onwards, that Ankole kingdom has a very new palace, a very new one, and very nice looking, but without a king.
I'll still stick to the wastage of resources. I've said in the reconstruction, they have the palace, but it is not of a better quality that a palace should be. Compared to these other kingdoms, the Bunyoro kingdom, the Uganda kingdom, their palaces are more constructed compared to this palace in of the Ankole kingdom. Then I'll talk of weakness in the kingship. The first farmer came here and told us that in the Ankole kingdom there is joint rule. Joint rule meaning ruling by two kings. And then here we come to say that if the Ankole kingdom is being ruled by two kings, and here we have the Charles Rebuttal, he's only one. And then here how will you come to tell me that even in the history the ruling was done by the two kings? What evidence do you have to show us that if this Ankole kingdom is restored, the kingdom will be ruled with a good kingship? And yet even in the history, we have to see that the ruling of this Ankole kingdom was done by the two kings. So take note of that. So as team and negators, we really stand firm to say that we would not love to see the restoration of the Ankole kingdom. I rest my case.
was your name, young man? Alex. And your name? What is your name? Okay. We shall now begin the speech, and we shall start timing as soon as you start speaking.
I begin my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Maximum respect to the judiciary table, to antagonistic bodies, and House at large. I'm by name Felista from the affirming side, and I'm the third speaker. I'm standing here, family, to affirm this resolution that states that this house would restore Angola Kingdom. Wow. I think this resolution was stated clearly, and I strongly support it. Due to the leadership of this kingdom, where we had the Ruhinda, who ruled in from 1430 to 1446, up to the last current king,